Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a truly wild sociological study. We're looking at a highly controversial 2008 text by a figure named Sui Feng. It's basically an absolutist blueprint, and it's designed to completely dismantle society as we know it, replacing it with a brand new world order run by what he calls the Chanyuan Superhuman. Let's unpack exactly what this extreme ideology is all about. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. First, we'll define the superhuman. Then look at their ultimate global goal, explore the superhuman mindset, break down their methods and strategies, and finally, examine what's called the collective lion pride. So, starting with Section 1, defining the superhuman, specifically flawed governance versus ideal leadership. To really grasp this ideology, you have to understand that the source text views our current human society as fundamentally broken. It literally claims society is driven by Satan's programs. The author argues that governance shouldn't be left to despots, or even what he brushes off as elected mediocrities. Instead, true leadership requires completely selfless, saintly-minded individuals with iron wills. And these are traits that his followers, the Chanyuan Celestials, supposedly embody, which is exactly how they justify their intended takeover. Now, achieving this ideal leadership hinges on one massive number, 800. The text outlines exactly 800 Chanyuan values. I mean, just imagine having to memorize and uphold every single one of those just to be deemed worthy. The text explicitly states that without this massive foundational understanding, you aren't superhuman at all. You're just what they call a brute. So, what exactly is a Chanyuan Celestial? Well, according to the text, it's simply a superhuman who fully grasps and upholds those 800 values. The ideology frames these rules as the absolute pinnacle of human wisdom and the highest possible moral standard. Submitting to this entire framework, that is the mandatory first step. Moving right along to Section 2, the ultimate global goal, or dismantling the old world. This is where the philosophy scales up to reveal its staggering, planet-wide ambitions. The goal is literally nothing short of dissolving society as we know it. No traditional nations, no traditional families. The movement aims to permanently erase all religions and political parties from history, replacing the whole shebang with a single global family. The utopian promise here is that by universally enforcing these Chanyuan values, absolute harmony will reign, and the talented will finally thrive without any restrictions. But what happens to the people who just don't comply? Well, the text is uncompromisingly severe. Quote, "Those who refuse are akin to viruses within human civilization and will be purified without hesitation." That is a chilling zero-tolerance policy, and it perfectly demonstrates exactly how they plan to enforce this new world order. All right, Section 3, the superhuman mindset, focusing on absolute certainty and obedience. Let's look at the internal psychology and the strict behavioral rules demanded of these followers. A superhuman operates with absolute tunnel vision, pure devotion only to the greatest creator. They are commanded to reject all other paths, whether they belong to gods, demons, or humanity itself. Basically, any system or institution that goes against the creator's will has to be actively overthrown and eradicated. This creates a fascinating and honestly almost contradictory daily operating manual. A superhuman must hold firmly to the belief, "I am right," demanding absolute obedience from others with zero arguments allowed. At the exact same time, they're supposed to smile calmly without fear at threats or even death. But here's the kicker. If provoked, they are instructed to seek tenfold revenge, chasing enemies from the heavens all the way to the underworld. So much for a calm, saintly smile, right? And this brilliantly illustrates the terrifyingly dramatic binary of this ideology. Quote, "Life or death, if you choose life, follow me. If you choose death, go your way." There is absolutely no middle ground in this new world. You are either entirely submissive to the superhuman, or you are completely cast out. Next up is Section 4, Methods and Strategies. Subtitle, The Art of Invisible Warfare. This is where the tactics become surprisingly shape-shifting and pragmatic. Despite all that talk of iron will and divine light, their tactical playbook is actually highly cautious. Step 1 is always guarantee self-preservation and safety first. Step 2 instructs them to avoid direct duels or open conflicts. Step 3 demands they operate invisibly, making it literally impossible for opponents to defend themselves. And Step 4 is to constantly adapt between truth and illusion. The text actually endorses using flexible, even traditionally evil methods, just as long as the ultimate goal is achieved. Their stance on ethics is perfectly summarized right here. Quote, "I do not keep my word with mediocrity, ignorant people, worldly people, or those who are barbaric. So honesty is completely conditional. It's strictly reserved only for the creator and those they deem worthy. With absolutely everyone else, calculated manipulation is totally justified." Which brings us to Section 5, the collective lion pride, strength in numbers. You might be wondering, how do individuals with such massive egos actually work together? The author uses a really stark nature metaphor for this. Chanyuan superhumans are lions, tigers, and leopards collaborating seamlessly as a deadly pride. The rest of humanity? They're seen as merely a herd of sheep or zebras, guaranteed to scatter like birds and beasts the moment a fierce predator arrives. But there's a big catch to all that supreme confidence. The text mandates that the Lifechanyuan community absolutely must be an unbreakable fortress. The author explicitly warns that without this unified collective and those shared 800 values, even the strongest lion will be overwhelmed among wolves. Despite their intense individualism, they absolutely rely on the group for survival. The author actually goes out of his way to separate himself from existing philosophies. Quote, "Nietzsche's superhuman is inevitably solitary, but the Chanyuan superhuman is never alone. Instead of an isolated brooder, Xufeng's superhumans are a collective, meant to engage in entertainment, play, and even flirtation. It's a wildly unexpected twist for an otherwise incredibly strict and absolutist text." Finally, Section 6, Conclusion, the holographic mechanism. We've definitely covered a lot of intense, frankly contradictory ideas today, but the author actually anticipates this confusion in a final note addressed to one of his followers. His instruction? Do not rush to conclusions. He tells his followers to explore and observe the holographic mechanism, essentially begging them to withhold immediate judgment and trust that this complex, evolving system will eventually make complete sense over time. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to ponder. How does a philosophy that demands both absolute individual supremacy and total collective submission challenge our traditional understanding of utopian movements? I want to thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive explainer. It's a stark, fascinating study in extremes, and I highly encourage you to really chew on the immense contrasts we laid out today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.